Pawn Stars has been airing for more than a decade now. It is a family business once ran by Richard Oldman Harrison and now by his son Rick Harrison. It is located in Las Vegas, Nevada, and insanely popular. People come to the pawn shop to pawn their goods in hopes of receiving some serious cash. The Pawn Stars have received some pretty expensive items like a 2001 Super Bowl ring won by the England Patriots Brock Williams, and an antique ensemble that the owner wanted $3 million for, that Rick rejected of course. The Pawn Stars has passed on some pretty interesting deals, but they also spent some pretty serious cash on some overpriced and overrated items, and in today's video we are going to show some of the items that the Pawn Stars should have never bought. Before we get into the video though, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel for future videos like this. Now let's get started. When he bought an antique blood transfusion kit, Chumley once again showed his affinity towards bizarre and strange things that most likely no one else would like to have. The seller said the kit had been made in the 1800s for the lazy vampire and remarked that she didn't need it any longer. Though an average person would probably freak out after hearing how it was being used, fortunately the woman came across Chumley who was willing to negotiate and eventually bought it for $125. Chumley doesn't have a good reputation when it comes to skills related to the pawn shop. A prime example of this is when he was fooled into a bad deal that had him go over his reasonable purchase limit of $1,000. Chumley was offered a vintage Gibson mandolin, and despite many red flags regarding its appearance and construction, he decided to buy it for $1,500. Even though the mandolin had the decals on the edges and the stamp of the modern script Gibson logo, it was visible through one of the F-holes. It turned out that it was one of the thousands of fakes that could be found across the US. Rick and his son Corey Big Hoss Harrison found a classic icon designed by Henry Ford himself. With 500 horsepower, a unique combo of folding convertible top and roll-up windows, so they headed across town to check it out. The only problem with this 1932 Model B Ford Roadster was that the owner was asking $105,000 for it. Rick's expert then put the value between $70,000 and $75,000. The pawning experts went back and forth with the guy over the total until they whittled their way down to only $68,250. However, afterwards, other experts said the car would probably only be worth about $50,000 in its current condition, which meant they'd need to spend money on getting it work done, and even then they wouldn't be guaranteed a profit. In an episode called Free Willy that aired in August of 2012, Corey paid a whopping $31,000 for what he believed to be a Willie Mays game-worn uniform. Not only was it not game-worn, but an authenticator speculated that it never even belonged to the player in the first place. The most significant proof of this claim was the fact that even Chumley had observed the apparent peculiarities. The uniform was pristine, and it didn't look game-worn at all. Knowing that Willie Mays was a baseball player who loved sliding around in the grass, it looked stainless and was more than suspicious.
My family cherished it, and the way my uncle was a sports collector. And
just because it was in your family doesn't make it real.
The next case regarding stolen diamonds unexpectedly happened to the hugely experienced Rick. In 2010, a man came to the shop with a pair of diamond earrings. Rick did his homework and asked the man all the questions he needed to ask, as well as for the specific paperwork. Unfortunately for him, the man was also well prepared with the right answers and even showing him the receipt. Harrison decided to pay him $40,000 for the earrings. However, his contentment didn't last long, since the next day the police showed up stating that the diamonds had been stolen and that they needed to recover the goods. Rick is famous for calling in a buddy expert for just about everything, but occasionally he decides to trust his gut. One such decision happened in a 5th season episode, Corey's Big Play, when Rick made a mistake and bought something trust in his feeling. A seller brought in a supposed 19th century Wells Fargo strongbox and walked out with $450 in cash in their pocket. Unfortunately for Rick, the box was hardly authentic. When his expert Mark, aka Beard of Knowledge, saw the box, he notified Rick that he was one of the most widely faked items and that the strongbox Rick had bought was a complete fantasy piece.
It's a complete fake.
Damn it, Rick.
That's all we have for today's video, guys. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you all next time.